Hey guys! Guess who's back? Back again. So, I don't even need to explain what this video is going to be because clearly we know. So I guess we're just gonna jump right into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was a comment from one of you guys, Jenny Tran, and I printed out your comment because I don't have my phone still, so I can't like look it up. Yeah, anyway, it didn't print out very well, so don't come for me if I can't read it. So Jenny Tran said, I found this conspiracy theory on the internet, so I thought I should share it with you. Dan was Shrek on Halloween once. Last year, I don't know, last year or not. Shrek falls in love with Fiona. And Phil, if Phil was a girl, his parents would have named him Fiona, as I said once. So, let me clarify. So one year, we all know Dan dressed as Shrek for either Halloween or it might have been a Tatanoff thing, something around that area that he dressed up as Shrek. And a lot of people know that Shrek falls in love with Fiona in the movies. Phil said that his parents told him that if he were a girl, his name was going to be Fiona. I find that a little ironic, don't you? So Dan just recently uploaded a video with Anthony and sort of Phil. It was the PSA video for emo shaming, and we all know how that went down. In the scene where Dan is straightening Anthony's hair while Anthony is painting his nails, Phil walks in and he says,
guys, what are you doing?
And they're like, ew, why are you painting my nails? Why are you flattering my hair, you weirdo? Like, whatever. So I thought it was kind of interesting that he goes on Phil's side and Anthony doesn't. I don't know if that means something, it could just be something stupid, but I just noticed it and I thought I'd share. Also in that video, Dan shamed Phil, pretty much, with the photos of Phil that he added in the video, but I thought it was kind of strange because Dan said that the reason he put those in there was to kind of, you know, get back at Phil for the whole video that they made where it was Anthony, Dan, or a rat, that video. But I thought it was weird because all of the photos that Dan chose were good photos of Phil, or at least I think so. Most of them were good. They weren't like the embarrassing ones of Dan with like the picture of him getting his hair dyed. We all know those pictures.
God! Why did you... Oh my god! Why did your hair is so long?
So this next one is something that I just found on the internet from somebody who was talking about it. Basically, in one of the Five Nights at Freddy's games from their gaming channel, Dan and Phil Games, subscribe, there was a scene where Dan was flickering on and off the lights. I think it was a Five Nights at Freddy's game, I could be wrong, but anyway, that doesn't matter. You guys just want to hear the fan stuff. So Dan was flicking on and off the lights, and at one point when the lights are off, a fan apparently took a screenshot of Dan like leaning towards Phil. And of course he could be like, oh, it could be anything. But then they turned up the saturation, and it kind of looks like Dan's kissing Phil a little bit. Maybe on the cheek, or he's going for the lips, but check it out. So now we're going to talk about Phil's video, Anthony, Dan, or Rat. So automatically I noticed that Dan was sitting closer to Phil than Anthony was, because Phil's been between Dan and Anthony. And I thought it was kind of interesting because Dan's like shoulder was like touching, or elbow was touching Phil a lot, and you know, they were just being their close little cute selves. And Anthony had like a noticeable distance between him and Phil. Not that there was anything like wrong with it, I just thought it was like interesting how, you know, fan. So that was pretty much all I got for that video. I mean, we all know that Phil took a bunch of pictures of Dan. I'm just imagining like Phil like sitting on the internet trying to find these pictures of Dan, or like going through his camera roll or something and just like looking at the pictures, and maybe he comes across like an old memory of them and like is like, oh, that's cute. Like I could picture it. Can you picture it? Because I can, and I think it's cute. So now we're gonna talk about how in Dan and Phil's video where they messed with the Face app, I noticed that when they had the little image next to them of Phil's phone, on Phil's phone you could see like some pictures that it chooses like that have like clear face. It's like, oh, you can use these photos from your camera roll. And at the very like bottom, the very first row, you see a picture of Dan, and it's Dan with like the plush, like he's all like, what's the word? He's all pastel-y, and he's like holding a little stuffed animal, and he looks all cute, and I was like, why does Phil have that? I mean, if he used it for a video or something, you know, you think he would delete it afterwards, but nope, it's still there. And it makes me think, like, how many pictures of Dan does he have on his camera roll, or just Dan? maybe there's some nudes on there somewhere. I'm kidding, not really. So now I gotta confess something to you guys that happened fairly recently, and the reason I'm sharing this with you guys is because I want to relate to those who have seen the video and, you know, kind of be there for those who haven't. I watched the Valentine's Day video for the first time recently, and I don't feel good about it. You know, I feel like I really invaded personal space, but I felt like I needed to know what the video was about in order to, you know, understand what the situation about the whole video thing is really. And I do understand. I'm not going to spoil anything, don't worry, don't come at me. And if you want me to spoil anything, I'm not going to, so sorry. But I watched the video because one of you guys gave me a link to it. I'm not going to say who because, you know, I don't want you to get hate. But I watched it and I probably fangirled into oblivion because everyone's saying it was more of a joke, and even Dan said it was kind of it was supposed to be a joke, and I can see that, and I thought it was really interesting. But at the same time, I was like, what if it wasn't a joke? What if